Aloha all. Today's podcast is number 62, Managing Triggers. Simple steps to regain balance. So, a lot's been going on for any of you we had our big freeze. I haven't done a podcast since then in Texas. That was interesting. And we've all gotten through it. Hopefully our plants survived this. And then I got my first vaccine, Moderna. I was excited about it. I have not been a vaccine proponent, just so you know, but I actually want to have more of a normal life, and I want to be able to get on a plane and fly again and not feel terrified and all that other stuff. So I know that gets to be personal choice again, but I am going to just throw that out there. A lot of my students and clients said, "You've been in the holistic healing arts your whole life. I'm so shocked." And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And I believe in science. And yes, so as soon as I have my second one and I get my 2 weeks clearance, it's worth a little bit of side effects. I was a little fatigued and wired, like it was hard to sleep, but my body was tired. So it lasts about 4 days and it's fine. It was no big deal. Okay, let's get on with this podcast. I've been working with a lot of clients. I think we're feeling it in the air. We have been in this COVID and political atmosphere, like it's been a hell of a year. I just want to say to any of you struggling, like it's hard. I wrote my partner last night, texted him and just said how much I appreciated that I've had him through this time, like to actually hold hands and snuggle and feel skin. And there's so many people that haven't had that. I barely get to hug my children or my dad, or my dad's now vaccinated. I can hug him as of Sunday, but it's hard. It's very hard. So I'm sending compassion out there to all of you, and let's get through this together. Get your vaccines. Okay, so now today is the last day of Pisces. Yesterday was my mother's 80th birthday and one of my terrific roommates' birthday. So it was a multiple celebration. And tomorrow is the first day of spring and the first day of Aries. Aries energy is about moving and changing and birth and just get up and go. It's about, so if you're feeling aggressive or ready to fight, that's your body saying, I just need to move. It's also a good time to say no to toxic foods, to toxic drugs, to toxic people. Let's just move on from that. Spring is about renewal and rebirth. You have universal support in achieving major breakthroughs from old, outdated wounds, harmful habits, and patterns. Now, many of my clients, they talk about having common situations that they feel unable to do anything except feel bad when it happens. So there's feelings of anger, sadness, or fear, and these consume you. Now, it usually happens in a moment where you're triggered and there's no clarity. It's just foggy. It just feels horrible, and you just, like a trapped cat, you want to get out and you overreact. So I've had one client talk about her being hormonal, and I just want to say this, ladies, that it is possible to be chemically imbalanced with your hormones. It doesn't mean when your hormones are chemically imbalanced that you have no clarity or that your emotions are not correct. What it does mean, so do not discount yourself, what it does mean is everything is amplified. The chemical imbalance is causing, when you're sad, it's despair. When you're angry, it's rage. Everything is amplified because you don't have any emotional buffer or stability. So I needed to throw that out there. So, talking about having no clarity available in the moment of this chaos, this storm when something happens. So, often I hear clients of mine owning their shit. That means that they are stepping up, that they're saying, "Okay, this I do this when this happens." So, in a sense, if you're saying every time blank happens, I blank, either get upset, rage, whatever, that's what I'm talking about, owning your stuff. Now, first, I will commend you on looking within and admitting that you need help, that this isn't working. So each of us is responsible for how we react or respond, most preferably, to a situation. Yet it's also important to have perspective. Instead of beating yourself up because you screwed up again and your partner or friend or family member is blaming you, I want you to assess what caused the actual trigger. Like, what created this storm of emotions? Now, trigger is a psychology term for a behavior or words or a circumstance that we actually go unconscious. It actually, we're unable to determine what is happening clearly in the moment because we're flooded with all of these uncomfortable, sticky emotions and thoughts, negative thoughts spinning. So when we're triggered, it's an amplified or extreme experience of our emotions taking over in reactivity. So this occurs because when something is a trigger, it's anchored to our past from an old trauma or an old unhealed wound. Now, it's very, very challenging to have clarity from something that isn't right here, that I could touch it, that I could see it, that I could say, this is what happened. If you find that you're trying to talk to a friend afterwards about what happened, you got into this thing with your partner, and you just don't really know what was happening, that's usually because this is coming up from the past, from something old, and it's hard to go back and time travel and to say, this is exactly what occurred. I'm not saying that whatever happened currently was not upsetting in some way. That I am certain that something either crossed a boundary or it hurt your feelings or somehow your needs were not met. Yet when it's an overreaction, when it's a trigger where you just kind of, that's it, it's from an unresolved wound. So we do have the right as humans, when something happens to us, we're angry, we're sad, we're hurt, we're afraid, and we get to communicate that as best as we can to the person that we believe is causing this, that we believe is triggering this. I have found that those of us, and I will claim that spot too, because I've done so much personal work, with old wounds from our past, from our childhood, from our teens, from past marriages, past relationships where we feel that it was abuse, neglect, or some form of disrespect, that once we truly acknowledge and heal that past trauma, we become very skilled in being the most authentic, clear communicating people that you can be around. These people are very in touch with their feelings at all times. When something's happened or someone says something that's not appropriate or that they find isn't correct or isn't true for them, that they will gently bring it up and say, okay, this isn't working for me, or I need that to be reframed because it sounded like, and you're just, it's a calm way of expressing these things. So these people that have done their work, you actually want to be around these people because you feel safe around these people. You want advice from these people. You respect them. If you've known someone for years and you saw that they used to be reactive, they used to be highly dramatic, and now they're calm, now their life is working for them, they have a healthy relationship with their partner, with their friends, with their family, with themselves, they're physically and mentally and emotionally healthy. Those are people that have done their work. I've always called that walking the dragon's path. So that dragon's path, that's like, again, I've said this on a past podcast, to slay dragons, we must first learn their habits. So I become an authority because I've done my work, because I've been in the mud, in the shit, in the dragon's path. And I know from experience all the steps it takes. So, knowing one's truth. I've discovered the truth and our truth. So if you say or do something that they found inappropriate, these people that have done their work, they're no longer going to rage at you, or I'm out of here and bail and slam the door, or sit there and just pout and shut down. Those are examples of not handling a circumstance in a healthy way. Yet, people that do their work, regardless if it's immediately or in a short time, in a very audible, legible voice, without a charge to it, you get to say, when this was said or done, it made me feel blank, and it would work better for me, or my request is fill in the blank. Now, it could be an example of, let's say they'll say, I ask in the future when we're out in public or with others that you don't criticize or judge me, that you support me. I feel safe when I know you as my partner, you have my back, you hold me as value, that you support me instead of degrading me. This is one of many examples that I've counseled others with. So, if it is a repeated behavior that is happening towards you, like let's say your partner or your best friend or your family member is always doing the same behavior to you, and you have done your work on this old wound, this old trigger, you can simply say something like a gentle hun, do you know you're doing it again, with a quiet voice, or you could say, I'm not feeling very loved or supported right now in this moment. Again, calm, matter of fact. Or I tell couples when I'm doing couple therapy to come up with a word or a phrase or a behavior, a gesture that you both agree on, not when you're in a triggered state, that when one of you is triggered or is doing this hurtful behavior, that you can either place a gentle hand on their arm or on their knee under the table if you're out in public, or maybe there's a phrase you could come up with, something like whispering, you seem upset, is there anything I can do, or breathe could be a calming word, or take a breath. And I will counsel, though, whoever is doing or saying the agreed come back to this moment phrase, I want you to please be gentle, be kind, and not critical. So when you speak with love to activate love, you will get that as a response. If you speak critically or harshly or you're doing it again, none of that's going to work, because there's already a mechanism in play. There's already a trigger happening. You want to feel safe, both parties to feel safe. And I also want to say, it is not fair for one partner or whoever is in this relationship, this toxic dynamic, that they always come from the stable, calm place and they kind of play the therapist. It is everyone's personal responsibility, each person's, to get help, either with private counseling sessions or to find a way. If you can manage behavior and that are like erratic or often emotional outbursts or criticisms or blame, then, and you could consciously bring awareness to it and stop it, then good for you. I don't know many people that could do that without guidance. If you need help, find a therapist you trust. So issues deep, old, and frequently coming up are something that you will need patience and commitment with. I tell my clients, okay, why are you coming to see me today? What can I help you with? And if it's something old and something intense, I basically say, let's focus on one particular pattern, issue, wound. And I ideally like consistent sessions once a week, if not once every 10 days or 2 weeks, but consistently. And it's going to take about 4+ sessions. It might take longer. If other things are intertwined with it, I'm going to try to focus on the one behavior and everything that's wrapped around that, where it originated, how it comes up now, how your behavior is, tools to give you that you can help to cope with that and live healthier. Okay, so when I work with many couples, the foundation of a solid, healthy relationship is learning to communicate consciously or non-reactively, non-defensively, by being honest, authentic, without fear of speaking the truth. And I teach you to name the fear that helps to dispel it. So when you speak in a way that your partner can understand, you will have success. We all have different love languages and histories, past histories, that filter and form how we relate and process information. So the gold is learning what our language is and our partners is, or whoever we love, whoever we want this desired, deep, lasting, supportive connection with, this relationship, and learning how to communicate that they can understand. So if after significant effort of doing counseling, of doing your work, and you feel more clear about when someone upsets you and know specifically what it is that is a wound to you, that is a trigger to you, when you could identify what need wasn't met or what boundary was violated, and you learn to convey this in a calm, articulate way that your partner can understand, this is the goal in communicating that a behavior that they do creates this response, and then you say again my request. So now, I've heard some partners, even when you come at them correctly, speaking their love language, appropriate tone, owning your stuff, an openness for resolution on both parts, I have been told that their partner will either, they continue the behavior that's hurtful, they won't own it, they either put blame on you, or they will walk away or shut down, or they think the magic words, "I'm sorry," will help. But what happens when they feel that's their get out of jail card? What happens when they're like, I could stay unconscious, I could stay critical and judging, I could stay mean and keep doing the same behavior because I always apologize afterwards? Now, how will that feel to the person that is constantly having this inflicted on them? I'm sorry does not even have an effect anymore. It starts to feel numb, and it starts to feel like there's no value or weight in those words. It's like sometimes people use the phrase I love you and they use it out of obligation or insert phrase here, but there's no heart connected to it. There's no intention connected to it. It's the same thing with I'm sorry. I'm sorry is not permission for you to continue hurting someone. It's not allowed. So I want you to contemplate, maybe it's time to honor the golden rule of loving yourself, caring, protecting, and providing for your needs as you are the aware adult you are and that you're becoming, and acknowledging your inner child. So this is acknowledging your emotional body from the past. Like, we're adults and we're mature adults, yet we always have this eternal live inner child inside of us. And this inner child is our passion, it's our creativity, it's our spontaneity, it's our giggling, our playfulness, our joy. It is our loving self. But that inner child is the one that gets scared, the one that needs hugged, the one that wants to feel safe. So that part of us needs to stay intact and alive and viable. So coming up with this is my goal, is to care for myself and attend to myself before my partner, before my family member or my friend or anyone. Now, sometimes the kindest path for both of you is to end the relationship. Now, I have seen this often when a relationship has ended and you have different living areas and you're not in each other's face any longer, that in that time, when there's enough time and space, that the person isn't always having their buttons pushed or triggers, and everybody's had time to like step out of the fire for a little bit, you'll have time to heal and recuperate. And maybe there will be a little clarity, even if it's, wait, I really am an asshole. I really need help. I don't know how to do this when I'm in a relationship. And at that point, it may be time for you to get help. And after you've found a consistent stability as you heal your past, and you can see the difference of what happens now, and if it's just a little not okay and you say something about it versus explode or bail or disappear or blame, that shows that it has an anchor from the past. So it's important for us, like if we do our work, we want everyone in our lives that we spend time with to be healthy enough that they can honor that back. And if they're not, if there's not a way around it, like with family members or circumstances at work, then you have to find healthy ways to manage it or spend the least amount of time you can with them to remove that toxicity. So it is painful and exhausting to live in a storm all the time. We need to be aware that awareness helps to lessen intensity of emotions because it becomes more accessible and logical. I'm not saying to use this as a mind thing, but things start to make sense and it will soften you. So I'm going to give you a couple of little quick reference steps to practice when you're feeling triggered in the moment. Now, I want to say, if this is happening out in public and you're with someone and this happens and you don't have the liberty to say, I need to go for a walk for a moment, or just give me, if you're driving, you could very well say, could we pull over for a minute? I just need to go outside and stand just for a few moments. And you could say things like, I'm feeling triggered. I'm feeling something happened and I can't identify it. And if I were to continue, I wouldn't be proud of my actions. How about that? So your partner or the person in your life needs to allow you that space if you are making a conscious choice to not blow up and to be kinder and to change patterns. So here we are. So something happens. Number one is, first you notice that you're triggered, and you always take a cleansing breath. You're just that. It's very important. So first off, notice that you are not in your right mind. You are triggered. And two, if you can, even if you're driving, even if you're in a room of people, if you could just subtly either put your hand like over your heart or over your belly, and then silently say something to your inner child. So right away, you want to anchor that emotional body, and you want to, so like if you have your hand on your belly, it could be phrases like, it's okay, or I'm here with you, or I'm never going to leave you, you are safe, you are lovable, I'm happy that we're spending this time together, you're my favorite person. Anything like that, coming up with your phrase. When I do counseling with you, we'll come up with some of those key phrases together, and you'll kind of know what your thing is. But any of those that I said, they may work, or alter it to a point where they'll work, that you have access to them when you need them. So after you do that little touching the hand on the belly or the heart, then it's important that you track your sensations in your body to get out of your head and into your body. So if you can, if you need to stand up, if you need to walk around, if you need to run or jump or do some squats, whatever gets your breath moving and your body moving. The word emotions means energy in motion. If it's just a storm and we're stuck, we need to get it flowing. And not flowing in rage, not flowing it outwards, just movement, breath. Use the breath. So identify where you feel the sensations. Is it tight in the chest? Is it sharp in the stomach? Is my breath shallow? So notice the sensations, and sometimes it's this subtle little fuzzy thing where in the beginning it's hard to identify sensations because you're spinning in your head and you're all just like a walking head. You're not aware of your body, but you want to track sensations in your body. So this gives your mind an object to focus on, and your awareness takes over. The spinning thoughts become less prominent. It's very, very important. Step 4, ask yourself, what are you feeling? Like if you can journal, again, set that 10-minute timer or however, and if you can journal or say this to yourself or think in the moment and explore the question, like, what am I feeling right now? In a phrase like, it might be I feel invisible, or I feel disrespected, or I don't feel loved, or like I matter. So try to identify which core emotion, once you know that phrase, is hooked to that. Is it primarily, and it could be a couple of these or all of these, but what is it primarily? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Or is it fear? So again, your mind has a job right now. It is not going to spin in these horrible thoughts. It is doing this work. First, it's checking in with the inner child, and it's saying something calming. Then it's going to track sensations. Then it's going to find out, what are you feeling, and let's identify it to the core of what is the base feeling. Then I want you to identify what was the behavior, the words, or the experience, and why you believe it made you feel that way. Now, this may be a step that's done after this time, like once you're home and you could go for a walk or go in your room and journal. But to really identify what behavior you experienced and why it made you feel that way. If you can see that, you'll start to see a common thread and a pattern. When we see patterns, this is how the mind likes patterns. It likes to identify things. This is how we heal. Number 6 is, when and if you can, ask your partner, your friend, or whoever you're in this shared experience with. You can say, I'm having a hard time. Can I share my experience of what just happened? And you need to wait and see when and if they can share that. And if they can't, then go to a trusted friend or do your journaling. But when you're ready, it's important to share. Again, whatever we bring awareness to, we dispel it. So, when and if you could ask your partner, can I share my experience with you? I'm having a hard time. Again, get it out to someone so you hear yourself, and even if you have to journal it and say it out loud. So I'm going to conclude with saying it's important not to blame them if they say, yes, I can hear you, yet to explain what action or words or how it was said or done that you interpreted. Remember, you're interpreting. We don't know what the ultimate truth is, but we know our interpretation. This is what I interpreted when I heard you say such and such. It made me feel invisible or disrespected or not important to you. And then it's very important that you make a request. So this is not, making a request is not permission to control another person. It is not a demand, it's actually a request. So they have the right to say no, and although this may not feel good to you, you are learning new muscles of how to care for yourself and your needs, how to speak up and communicate, and you may find that this person is not the one that wants to dance with you, that wants to play with you, that wants to advance and learn and grow in a healthy relationship of any level. So, again, your partner or this person can say yes, but they'll say yes with a change and listen to that, or they just say yes. In time, you can ask if you can both discuss a better way to navigate this trigger that meets both of your needs. It's not about one person always winning or getting their way. If that happens, they need to do more inner work and bring awareness to that old unconscious behavior. It's not about winning. It's about everybody getting their needs met. Now, I'm available for Zoom or Skype or FaceTime or phone calls. My counseling is $100 an hour, or I do 2 sessions for $150. I will do a sliding scale if you need to. And if you commit to weekly sessions or regular sessions, we could work on something that's affordable and reasonable. There is no greater investment than yourself for your mental and emotional health. Feeling physically strong, feeling safe, feeling seen, feeling heard, and bringing that being secure enough and aware enough to notice also the needs of other people around you. Everybody's trying to heal. Everybody wants to feel safe and loved and connected. So remember, take spring in and move, make some changes. Start exercising, eating healthy, breaking old patterns. It's a short life, people. You do want to live fully. You do not want to live triggered and stressed and angry and shut down or in conflict. Be courageous enough to take the steps forward to have your breakthrough. You are worth it. Aloha, everybody. So blessings, and email me. So please follow and share and like and comment on my podcasts, and you could email me at Samana, SAMANA, Tiger, TIGER, at yahoo.com, or 808-283-7587. You can text me, and that is Texas, USA, Central Time. Blessings all, and happy spring till we speak again.